Hey YouTube, it's Marita Joyce and I am back with another book review. Today I am going to review Moon Knight. This comic was actually suggested to me by the owner of the comic book store in my city. So this comic is written by Lemire, Small, and Belair. And it is a Marvel comic and it's called Lunatic, I think. So let's just start out with, I'm going to tell you guys the things that I liked about it. No, first I'm going to tell you the things I didn't like about it. And then I'll end with the positives of what I did like about this comic. So Marc Spector, aka Moon Knight, is an orphan. He appears to have dissociative identity disorder in this comic. He's been institutionalized since he was 12 years old, and he keeps a journal of Moon Knight's adventures. Okay? So in his journal, he has all of these ideas going on in his head, but he believes them. He believes these ideas to be real. Okay? So in this comic, there are themes of delusions, abuse, dissociative identity disorder. Moon Knight is a vigilante. There is Jack Lockley, which is one of his personalities. Steve Grant, the millionaire. A Fist of Kung Shu. I still wasn't really grasping what that was all about. And schizophrenia is one of the other themes. So you have Mark, you have John Paul. John Paul is speaking French all over the place. And then you have Gina, which is an African-American character here in this comic. So you have Marc Spector, aka Moon Knight, and a bunch of other weirdos. This comic is set in a mental health institution. So they're in a mental asylum. And Mark is there. He's been there since he was a child. He's seeing a psychiatrist. And he's basically receiving treatment for what initially I thought was dissociative identity disorder, based on the depictions and everything from the comic. As the story began to evolve, I was convinced that he was schizophrenic. Then I was a little bit confused because it appeared that he was waking up from a dream. And then once again, towards the end of the book, I was again confused because there's a picture of Moon Knight, and above the picture of him, you can see it says schizophrenic. So, as you guys know, I am a psychology fanatic. I love psychology, all things psychology. So I really thought this would be the one. Like, there he is in his straitjacket. Like, I just thought I would fall in love with this comic. Just judging a book by its cover. I really did that. I judged a book by its cover. So, the things I did not like about this comic, I felt like the comic was all over the place. There was no logical anything going on with the plot. I had some serious issues with following along with what was going on. There were mummies, and there was some Egyptian mythology going on. There were Egyptian gods. There were people turning into alligators. Namely his psychiatrist. He'd be sitting here talking to her, and all of a sudden she, turn into an alligator. And I know some of these were some of his delusions or whatever. And his hallucinations. He was just believing all kinds of things, seeing all kinds of things. I really wasn't feeling this comic. I wasn't. It didn't it appeared to me that the research in the psychological realm was not solid. It just wasn't solid. Of course, you can have more than one psychological diagnosis at a time. I get that. But it just seemed that there was a lack of real foundational research in the mental disorders that were being depicted in this comic. Which I did not like. So, I also felt some issues with, for instance, there is a character in the comic, and her name is Gina. She's an African-American woman, and she's running around calling people honey all the time, which to me just like seems very urbanly outdated. Like, black women don't all say honey, and most of us don't even really use that term anymore because it's kind of old. So that was kind of like, I don't know. And then with the Egyptian mythology, like the whole pyramids of mummies and all that crazy stuff that was going on, I just felt like somebody was trying too hard to infuse diversity into this comic that really didn't make for a good storyline. There's a black guy that runs around with pick in his head, which I also thought was just a typical, you know, just typifying things. I didn't really like that. Let's see. Another thing that I noticed was that this guy seemed to be being abused. Well, most of the characters in the mental institution are being abused, which I found to be another trope, like the typical boring mental institution where you're getting electroconvulsive therapy for no apparent reason, no reason for it. It's just used as abuse. You know, they're gonna fire you up, put you on a table and fire you up. I wasn't feeling that. I'm like, no, this is just not right. So that was the thing that really got me. The mental health technicians in the hospital, they were running around beating people up. They were abusive, cursing out the patients. I mean, I get that this is a comic, but I was just like, it's just, to me, it embodied all those things that a person who wouldn't know what a mental institution is really like would think about what goes on in a mental institution. And then it was very characteristic, I think, of what a lot of people think about mental institutions, and it just seemed boring and predictable. And I think that's what bothered me. It was more or less like not entertaining for me because of all of the stereotypical, you know, type things that were going on in this comic book. So yeah, that's basically my review of this comic. I'm not gonna let this discourage me. I know that, you know, a comic is a comic is a comic. This is one comic book. There are other comics that I could love. So I'm going to continue on my journey to discover comics that I enjoy. And let's talk about the positives. The positive things about this comic that I really, really love. First off, I love that someone ventured into the world of psychology. I commend Marvel for this. Like, that was excellent. I love that. I think I couldn't help but think we need more comic books about mental illness. I think this needs to be put out there more. That was the first thing. So I found that to be really positive. And I did like that he did have people of color in the comic book. I thought that was great as well. So those are two things that I found positive about the comic, and that I was happy about, even though I didn't really enjoy this comic. There are a lot of people, I think, on Goodreads that really enjoyed it. You can find my review, the official review, on Goodreads. I will leave a link, or either my Goodreads account information down below, so you can look at the review that I did on Goodreads of Moon Knight. And that is it. So hopefully there's some things that I said here today that you disagreed with me on, and because of that you'll go out and you'll get this comic book and you'll actually enjoy it. So that's it for my review of Moon Knight, and I will be reviewing Paper Girls next, I think. So I will see you guys on the next review. Bye!